Bamboo, hot and blunders, printers where the wheels literally fall off, and quite a few Prusa fails, one that has me completely stumped. All this and more, PrintFix Friday, episode 73. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to YouTube's longest print fail fix weekly video series. And we are accepting your fails. We actually have quite a few fan submissions in this one, and I greatly appreciate it. We're always looking for more. And if you do want us to take a look at your fails in this series, you can tag us on all the social medias, use the hashtag PrintFix, or slide into those DMs. Alternatively, you can also email us, youtube@3dmusketeers.com. And like I said in the intro, there is actually a Prusa fail here that has me absolutely stumped. So make sure you stay tuned for that one. But first, you have to listen to a message from our sponsor, unless you choose to skip it. 3D Musketeers. Greatly appreciate everybody's support here. Thank you all for what you do in making this thing possible. And if you do want to outsource your 3D printing to the pros at 3D Musketeers, you can do so. We're actually getting all nice and comfortable with the Prusa Slicer 2.6 Alpha 2 on the printer running right behind me, which was Thursday's time lapse, assuming it completes. I don't know if it's going to. You'll be curious. But we've got over 45 3D printers and over 40 years of combined experience helping people just like you make awesome every single day. Whether you want to take a physical part and make it digital utilizing one of our high-end Artec 3D scanners, or get some production runs made on our print farm, we can help you. No job is too large or too small. Generally speaking, you can reach out to us. 3D Musketeers links are in that description down below. And if you do want to support us financially, you can do so by joining YouTube channel members or Patreon. Links, of course, in that description down below for as low as $1 a month. And that money goes directly into supporting the channel and all the ancillary needs that it has. But if you can't support us financially, we totally understand. It is the best time to support, by the way. It is the beginning of the month. But a like, subscribe, share, and a comment goes a long way to helping the channel grow. But enough of me with those call to actions. Let's get into fixing some fails. Starting off, we got a fail from one of my favorite places to visit in the outskirts of Tampa Bay, the Amrock Fab Lab, located in what was the old University Mall in Tampa, Florida. This place is great. They're a federal nonprofit that serves to help inspire kids that want to learn, and that's awesome because they're exposing these kids to cool technology like 3D printing. And well, sometimes failures happen, and this one's a rough one. So this is a Creality CR10S Pro, I think. First off, oh my god, the glue. Please don't do that. Second, we got a blob of doom here that has created a bit of a problem, but the glue here is really the thing that I want to focus in on because that's the problem. If you're having issues with your first layer, that's totally acceptable. It happens. And we have a whole video on it, all cards so you guys can take a look. But this is an excess. Sometimes glue is used as a adhesion inhibitor, not an adhesion promoter. And I know that sometimes it can be assisting in that, but getting a clean first layer is not all that difficult. I believe this has the carborundum glass plate, but I could be wrong. But it does look like this plate, whether it's glass or a flex plate of some sort, has seen some things. This exemplifies why I believe if you're going to print overnight and unattended, having something like a wise cam and a smart plug to monitor that print would be amazing. If you wanted to use a webcam and maybe a Raspberry Pi, where you could hook it up to something like Octo Everywhere, Obico, or 3DQ, among others that exist for the 3D fail detection algorithms, it could be done on its own. But if you're on a budget, a wise cam and a smart plug can all be had for less than 50 bucks. Be able to give you that peace of mind you can check in every now and then to make sure it's looking okay before you go off and do something. Because likely this could have been caught a lot earlier, and while you would have lost the entire time of the print, you would not have lost the entire time of the repair. It happens. Been there, done that, gotten the t-shirt, and Amrock, if you guys are still having trouble, let me know. I will come down one day and we'll get that thing sorted out, no problem for you guys. And if you do live in the Tampa Bay area, go over and check out the Amrock Fab Lab. They are absolutely awesome, and they're doing amazing things with the budget they have. I am incredibly thankful for them, and I'm incredibly thankful for what they do for this community. thank you guys. Next up, we got a Bambu lab fail. There's going to be a few Bambu lab fails in this one as I continue my journey going through this Bambu Lab X1 carbon, so bear with me on these. This is from Killa Prints, who's had hundreds of hours on their machine and only suffered one casualty. And I don't think I've ever seen this. I guess Brian Vine's BV3D has also experienced this. If you get an issue of a print curling or the hot end colliding, the printer moves so fast that it can just snap the actual hot end off of the heat break. And I don't know if this is a snap or it's just pulled away, but that ain't right. That's not the way it's supposed to be. And this was all in my thread regarding my consistent issues that I've had with this Bambu Lab X1 carbon. And it sucks because this is a QC issue. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit, so stay tuned if that's the kind of thing you're here for. And this is a case where extra Z-hop is always a good move. Inside of Bambu Studio, you are able to adjust these things. Let's take a look. Oh, we got a successful print. Hey, can't hate it. So inside of Bambu Studio, we are able to adjust all of this. And this is my prototype for a AMS ring that fits Jesse spools. I say prototype, but it works great. It's removable. It doesn't damage the spool, and it fits the plastic ones too. So if that's your kind of thing, stay tuned. A whole video on this and my experiences with the Bambu Lab coming soon. But we can look at other potential settings and be able to look at Z-hop. Inside of the material settings here, and you'll have to click the little icon next to the material itself, you're able to choose options. And you can go in here and choose your Z-hop when retracting, and it will give you an amount. 0.4 is a little bit low. My preference is if you're going to run these kind of speeds, have at least 1 millimeter. I know it's going to add time to your prints. I know, but I'd rather have it add the time to my prints than be a problem. And for materials like PETG, ABS, ASA, nylon, the ones that are somewhat notorious for warping, especially the harder core ones, having more Z-hop is incredibly valuable because it effectively guarantees that you don't collide with anything. And if you can keep this from happening, I'd say that's time well spent. As it is, these printers are very fast. And if you got to spend an extra 2 minutes overall because you're doing all of this extra stuff, I don't have a problem with it. And if you do, hey, you're the one risking it, not me. Moving on to one of my Bambu fails that we've had. In the past couple of weeks, it's been rough. I've had a tool head board break on me. I've had 2 cold ends clog on these nozzles. I've had the extruder get clogged multiple times, requiring it to be fully disassembled, as well as the magnets falling out now for the second time. The magnets fell out last night. It is currently Wednesday, so it fell out on Tuesday overnight. And while the machine did pause itself, the magnets shouldn't fall out in the first place. My best guess here, because it is very, very tight when the printer is cold, is that whatever plastic is used in that tool head and extruder combo there does expand when it gets hot. Because when I heated up the chamber on the Bambu Lab, I was able just to push everything back together, and it seems to actually hold pretty well, where I wasn't able to do that when I follow the directions provided to me by Bambu to go ahead and re-super glue in the magnets. I am being told that I might have a lemon and it might be going back. And if so, we'll have a post-mortem of it before it goes back so you guys can get my experience on it and see, did I just get a lemon? But this is a cause for QC issues as far as I'm concerned. I know that I didn't get a golden unit. I'm very positive I didn't get a golden unit. But I need to make sure that I'm not getting some form of golden customer service. I have access to a couple of people at Bambu, and I do my best not to utilize it, but I do make sure they're aware of the problems. I make sure to go through and mark it in the ticket system, and so far, it's been okay. I did finally get the tool head board parts in, and they sent all of the electronics for the tool head rather than just the one board that I needed. I'm certainly not going to complain about that because that means I've got spares. But I didn't know there was more than one board on the tool head. There are 2 boards and a ribbon cable. I have not torn apart this machine. There's no reason for me to. At this price point, I shouldn't have to. Now, initially, I had said that I don't want to use a push rod to go ahead and clear out the clog here because that steel is likely way softer than the push rods. This is why posting about this is important. I come to find out this throat that is used is not steel, it's titanium. And the titanium is way stronger and harder than the steel that you might use to push through it. So it's actually okay, which is awesome. I'm excited about that because it does make clearing clogs a lot easier. And there is a tool to do it. But the reason these clogs exist is right here. The filament cutter. This is the filament cutter, and a bit of a nitpicky item on this. It requires 2 different size hex keys to remove it because the filament cutter uses a 1.5mm hex screw, but all the other screws on it are a 2mm. That's a little frustrating to me, and I feel like they could have just engineered it to be the same size, reducing their bill of materials and reducing the amount of effort that someone needs to go through to remove that extruder. But whatever, I digress, it's not that difficult. The filament cutter will cut the filament right at the edge of this. So if you do have a clog for some reason, like I did, where the filament was being stripped out by the extruder, when you go to unload it, the machine will cut the filament, jamming it inside of the cold end. And if it's been sitting there trying to print for hours, I promise you that thing is jammed up. And that is exactly what has happened to me the 2 times that it's occurred. I would love to have an unclog feature where the machine will go ahead and heat up and attempt to retract itself without activating the cutter. This is not that difficult to do, and I think could be an easy push in firmware. And because Bambu Lab requires you to be internet connected to get those firmware upgrades, it's not that big of a deal. I'm hoping that my advice here is listened to, because I know I'm not the only one that has experienced problems like this, and it is very frustrating to have to go and print a specific part to unclog these hot ends. I don't want to do that. I don't get clogs in my E3D V6s. I don't get clogs in my Revos yet. So why should I be experiencing clogs in this hot end? My thoughts on this. If we can get a way to disable the cutter when there is a clog, that'd be awesome. And the AI fail detection was turned on for this print. It did not realize that it was jammed. It said that it actually completed successfully, which is hilarious because it didn't. I feel like I got a false start here. I gave Bambu some time, and maybe it is because I have a lemon that I'm having a bad experience, but I feel almost betrayed in that I gave them a chance and their QC is falling. But it allows me to help you guys out if you might have a lemon as well. We got a fail from Facebook, you know, the place where people go for reasonable answers from reasonable people, but you know, we're still here to help. And I love this because Joe Prusa himself actually replied, "I like it. It's a good option, and I agree with it." We've got this, what appears to be the top of a Deathstar, and it's moving back and forth a lot. It's one of 2 things. Either the pulley is slipping on the Y motor, or there is something that the print head keeps hitting as it's going back and forth. I would almost guarantee that it's going to be the pulley on the motor. There are grub screws that hold on those pulleys to the shaft of the stepper motor. Stepper motors are normally a D-shaped shaft rather than fully round, and those little grub screws attach onto that flat, and then there might sometimes be another one that provides counter pressure on part of the rounded area. And yeah, they can come loose over time. It's okay. You can fix it, but you're not going to recover this print. You will have to do a new one. It does appear that we have gyroid infill, or at least it looks like it's gyroid now. If that is the case, gyroid does create a lot of vibrations on the machine, and I might recommend putting a little bit of blue thread locker on it so they don't back out next time. You can also cheat and use a little bit of PVA glue, the same glue stick you might use, to glue pieces of paper together, because you're not going to use them on the bed of your Prusa, at least not on this particular bed. And you can use that. That could be a little bit of a cheaper thread locker, but I have seen it happen before. I'm glad that this was taken care of. It's a pretty easy fix, but it's a bit of a heartbreaker when you see it, because it's not always obvious what the problem is. Next up, a fail from our Patreon Discord. Leroy Jenkins 420 posted this one, and yeah, I see what the problem is. They ran it so hard the wheels fell off. Literally, the V wheels fell off. Apparently, the bolts that they used were not long enough when they added the direct drive upgrade kit, and the nylon lock part of the nut did not engage. And that meant that over time, this nut's actually backed off and the wheels fell off. Yeah, that's my first case of ever seeing that one. How do you solve that? Just make sure you get the right size bolt. Having too short of a bolt is something that I am well and truly used to at this point, But you don't have to be. You can easily go and replace the bolts that are on this with something that is longer. It appears to be an M4 or an M5, and we always get our bolts from trimcraftaviationrc.com, which we will link in that description down below. It is generally way more affordable than buying the kits off of Amazon, and you can get the exact parts that you need. Spring for the stainless. It's not that much more expensive, and who doesn't like the stainless look? Yeah, that's a heartbreaker though. I have never seen that happen. And you can see it happened for a minute there before it got real bad. That's a rough one, man. This fail comes via email. We had a fan actually email this to us. This is their Prusa Mini that they are dealing with, and they have a really odd problem that I'm not even sure I know what's wrong. So let me know if you guys know what's wrong with this in those comments below. But we have perimeters that just aren't sticking on the front side of the Mini. Now, something that I did note is that is not a Prusa build plate. This is not a properly covered set of bed wires, and I don't know if that has anything to do with what's going on. And your spool is way cantilevered off the side of the printer. I don't think that that's all that necessary. But it's odd because the print looks fine. And so let's see what they've tried. Belts are properly tensioned using Prusa's PETG belt tensioner. They put a new nozzle in. It's not going to be the nozzle. Change the location of the printer. Okay. Increase infill overlap from 50 to 75. I think stock is between 20 and 25. You should not need more than that, which sort of worked, but you could really see the infill through the wall. And then I needed to slice differently for just one of my printers. They run a mini farm with Prusa Minis. What I'm wondering is if it's the part cooling fan blowing too hard and pushing the perimeter forward and out of the way enough to keep the perimeter from overlapping. I didn't want to replace the fan if there is an easier way to fix it. Thanks, everybody. Now, unfortunately, there's nobody else that's commenting here, and that was my best guess, that it is the blower fan. I don't know what causes this to occur. I don't know what material it is either. It's likely a PLA, PETG, or ABS, but something's just not right. I'd love to know what you guys think in those comments, because it's not often that I get lost on it, and this one has me completely stumped. I don't know what the problem is here. I would go with the fan to start and see if that solves it. Maybe that'll help. But if the part doesn't have a lot of infill, I could see why that could occur. But if it's got a fair bit of infill, that shouldn't happen. You can try printing your infill first. That might allow it to grip on when you then go ahead and do your exterior and interior perimeters. You can give that a shot, but I think it might be related to the blower. I've never experienced this problem personally. If you have, let me know in those comments below. It's not often I get stumped. This one has me completely stumped. And that upsets me because this person actually emailed me and asked for some assistance. And I don't think I have an answer. Salmon Skin or question mark. They don't know what's going on. They don't know if it's called Salmon Skin or whatever it might be. It's a Neptune 3 Pro, 0.2mm layers, Sunloom matte PLA, 260. Temperatures are fine, well within range. Neptune 3 Pro, decent printer from my knowledge. It is over extruding. This is an over extrusion issue. We can actually see it occurring here as well. The lines, these little patterns are indicative of a printer that is over extruding. And it's not by much. I would guess maybe 1% or 2. I would start by dialing in your steps per millimeter. It's a pretty easy thing to do, and it will be an upcoming video. So if that's something you guys want to learn more about, let me know in those comments. This one is absolutely over extrusion. You can just cut down your extrusion multiplier if you want, but I would rather adjust those steps per millimeter and then see if it's still over extruding. Because if it is, your filament might be outside of spec for diameter, might be a little bit larger than you are expecting. I don't expect that to be the problem, but fixing your steps per millimeter to me solves the problem rather than extrusion multiplier, which is more of a band-aided solution. One corner printed perfect, the others look horrible. Let's see if we know what printer it is. We don't. But we can see that it looks great on one area and bad on the other, which likely means that they are cooling from one direction and one direction only. And I'm not talking about Harry Styles over here. We're dealing with airflow that is only coming from one side of the nozzle, which means only one side of your print is getting airflow. I would recommend looking at upgrading your cooling ducts or even your cooling fan to something that is better, that cools on multiple sides and not just the one. It is very common for manufacturers to only put single side cooling on their 3D printers because, well, it's cheap and there's not that big of a reason if you run the printer relatively slow. They're not building printers to look pretty, they're building printers to a price point. It's a thing. I'm sorry. But there are plenty of mods out there, I'm sure, for whatever printer that you might have. Take a look and see if you can find cooling solutions for your printer. And if not, let me know and I'll see what I can find for you. But that's all I have for you guys today. What did you think of this one? It's not often that I get stumped, and that Prusa Mini really absolutely stumped me. I would love to know what you think that issue might be in those comments down below. But stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one. Having too short of a bolt is something that I'm well and truly used to at this point, but you don't have to be. God, that would be a great segue for Blue Chew. You don't have to be, thanks to our sponsor, Blue Chew. God damn it, that would have been a great sponsor segue, but I didn't do it. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video, and a massive thank you goes out to all of our Patreon and YouTube channel member supporters, whose names are listed right next to me at the $5 tier and higher. Thank you all for what you do in making these videos possible. It is greatly appreciated. You help make sure that the cat stays all nice and chunky. And of course, you guys get to see all the wonderful cat outtakes, because she, for some reason, always wants to leave when I start filming. Right below me will be the entire PrintFixFriday series, so you guys can look at some fails, look at how we fix them, and have a little bit of fun every now and then. And right next to that will be our entire Intro to 3D Printing series, where we talk about certain parts of 3D printers and how to fix them. I'll see you all down in those comments and in the next one. Don't forget to leave a like. Take care.